Hello, fella.
Good evening, Paul.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Oh,
you?
we were a bit of a rush there, wasn't it?
We were having a few technical difficulties again this evening.
We got set off in rather... We were doing absolutely fine till we got started.
Yeah, I've got...
Right, welcome to the Unpenned Show. My name is Paul.
My name's Andy.
And it is Tuesday the 15th of October 2013.
It certainly is.
So live from our North Yorkshire headquarters, our defence, our castle... our prison, we may say.
Yes, definitely.
And another week to perhaps share our little thoughts with those that want to share back with us. And all you have to share is your time, isn't it?
Yeah,
all we ask is a little bit of time. Time is money, money is time. We all understand that, don't we? But we don't understand it in the way that we should understand it. We just, when we say, are you free? When people say that, they say, are you free? We don't hear what people are saying, aren't they?
No.
In other words, can I have something for nothing? Which is your time, of course.
Time, yeah.
And I often think of, the way that we speak to each other is different to what most people perceive, isn't it? You and I, we hear the language differently to other people now. The depth in it. And it's the depth that people don't hear, isn't it? And we hear week after week after week after week of people saying the newspapers tell us lies, and the news is suspect. The UK column are doing a thing this week on the BBC and how it makes the news. A news story on my Facebook page is the Americans openly admit that they've been faking repatriation services for 7 years. Wag the Dog is now here. I know you haven't seen the film Wag the Dog, but if you had, you would see what it is that everybody can't see. That the only thing that makes sense here is that when you think of a movie, you see the stars, don't you? And you often get to meet the director, and the costume designers and the makeup guys and girls and the cameraman and that sort of thing. But you very rarely get to meet the scriptwriter. And without the scriptwriter, there is nothing, is there?
No.
It's that person who writes the script that remains mostly anonymous.
Yeah. It's
a bit like the pop world, isn't it? That we're now learning over time that the groups that we've followed, Queen being a good one of them, the Beatles being another one, and many other popular groups, who we're led to believe wrote their own songs, we're now finding out that might not be true. What made us think that anything is what it appears to be? Because we keep looking around, don't we, for things to confirm our reality. Well, the truth is that nothing, and I don't think anything can qualify here, is exactly as we think it is. The newspapers do tell the truth, but with a bias. But, I mean, we've got a whole floor full of newspaper stories.
We have.
Which we're guaranteed not to do. But there is a reason why I've done this. I went back 2.5 years, nearly 3 years ago now, onto my Facebook page. And I've come to the conclusion why it's called Facebook. It's for people who can't face books. That's what I think it is. That's the closest and most sensible way I can decide of why it's called Facebook. For people who won't face books. That's how it seems to me, anyway. And these stories from almost 3 years ago, we're going to go through them this evening. There's only about 4 or 5 that I've picked off, because I've only done January 2011, because I was a very active Facebooker.
In 2011?
I really was, yeah. I mean, I was trying to learn everything I possibly could. I felt the race was on. The race was on for me to learn. I realised how much I didn't know. The thing about this whole game is that you have to realise how much you don't actually know. And once you do that, you leave yourself open to at least the possibilities of what is and is not. But if you stick your flag in the ground and say, I know stuff, you're going to get tripped up, aren't you?
You are.
Now, I watched over the weekend a film called Network. I think, have you seen Network?
No.
You haven't seen, so I've given you loads of films. You need to keep yourself updated on these films. I watched a film called Network, 1976.
Because you people And 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourselves. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
Men prefer a false promise to a flat refusal. Cicero. Doublethink is when one believes in two contradictory beliefs at the same time. It is the opposite of cognitive dissonance. The ability to tell lies and genuinely believe them, and to forget any facts that are inconvenient. Advancing doublethink is the elite's defense mechanism from any challenge to their power. The elite know that propaganda will eventually be exposed. But if they can make you lie to yourself, and that was accepted as truth, then they can form a new reality.
Winston, you know how the party keeps power. Now tell me what.
You are ruling us for our own good, because we are not fit to govern ourselves.
That was stupid, Winston. I want intelligence. The party seeks power for its own sake, not as a means but an end. Power over the human mind, and power over all matter, climate, disease, the laws of gravity. Because we control the mind. Reality is inside the skull, Winston. We control the laws of nature. The stars are not light years, but a few kilometers away. If we wished, we could blot them out. Here, that is power. In our world, there will be no love but the love of Big Brother, no laughter but the laugh of triumph over a defeated enemy, no art, no science, no literature, no enjoyment, but always and only, Winston, there will be the thrill of power. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever.
Doublethink produces an intellectual blindness to a contradiction. Doublethink is simply spinning a story to make the government look good by deliberately lying, but then simultaneously believing the new story as exactly how it happened. Most Americans would look at Baghdad Bob and laugh, knowing that what he is telling you is a lie. And yet we believe these same lies just because they come from our State Department. Think about how the Iraqi citizens would look at Baghdad Bob being the spokesperson for one of the most tyrannical regimes in the world. And yet the typical Iraqi would probably look at us and think that we're crazy for believing our politicians. This doublethink is done not only to mislead the populace, but more importantly those that work for the government. This is important because if the regime participants suddenly get conscious or change consciousness, the whole system would collapse because nobody would be there to run the system. An example would be just the military. They have to believe that they're fighting for freedom, but in reality what they're doing is enslaving populations for private profit. The people can always be brought to the bidding of its leaders, tell them that they are being attacked, and denounce peacemakers for a lack of patriotism and for exposing the country to danger. Hermann Göring. Everything the state says is a lie, and everything that it has is stolen. Friedrich Nietzsche. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, or military consequences of the lie. It is thus vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by the extension the state is the greatest enemy of the truth. Joseph Goebbels. We are an empire now, and when we act, we create our own reality. And while you're studying that reality judiciously as you will, we will act again, creating other new realities, which you can study too, and that's how things are going to sort out. We're history's actors, and you, all of you, will just be left to study what we do. Karl Rove. The Nazi theory specifically denies that there is such a thing as the truth. The implied objective of this line of thought is a nightmare world in which the leader, or some ruling clique, controls not only the future but the past. If the leader says of such and such an event, it never happened, well, it never happened. If he says 2 and 2 are 5, well, 2 and 2 are 5. This prospect frightens me more than bombs. George Orwell. Think about how many lies the elite tell us, and yet we come to accept them as the truth. Does anybody believe the government unemployment numbers? Does anybody believe in the strong dollar policy, or that inflation is really low? Does anybody really believe that we are the land of the free and home of the brave? People will accept lies if their lives get better. As their lives get worse, they will inevitably ask questions. And as their lives disintegrate, they will start looking for both answers and suspects. Mike Rupert. In a world of universal deceit, and an emperor not wearing clothes, it is time to tell the truth. We will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the public believes is false. William Casey, director of the CIA, in his first address to his staff in 1981.
You heard that, didn't you?
I certainly did.
We have thousands of people, well, no, millions of people who read the newspapers and then argue what the truth is. It is madness. Because the only thing that makes sense, because this is the globalist bid for the world, isn't it? They already own it, by the way. But it's a major update that we're going through. This is a major update. And tonight's show might sound a little bit controversial. And I'm okay with that. Because this gives us our voice. This is our voice to say what we want to say. And I'm not going to not say it. It only makes sense that the globalists are distributed worldwide. And they've agreed, many moons before today, of what they see as the way forward.
Yeah.
Now, particularly at the beginning of this year, I decided to read the books that I know the higher-ups have read. And I knew it was going to do this. It was going to give me a view of the world that was their view. And because I'm happy to accept it, because I'm okay with them saying what they want to say, then it changes how you see the world. Because I used to see the world in a way of makers and takers, and that hasn't changed.
No.
But I see the makers and takers on all levels now. We live in a world of socialism. This is a socialist world that we live in. We've got social services, a social welfare system, our healthcare is socialised, and as you're now finding, big businesses' losses are also socialised.
Yep.
To deny that is just to not know. It's just that you didn't know. It's nothing else. I mean, I was going to say it's not your fault you didn't know, but of course it is. It is.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world now where we'd rather be ruined by praise, because that's all we want. We want to be ruined by praise. In other words, oh, well done. You did your best. Your best is all that matters. It doesn't matter that you came last. Ruined by praise. That doesn't instill an instinct of I'm not very good at that, so maybe I should look elsewhere. Because criticism is what saves us, isn't it? When someone actually says, you're pretty rubbish at that, actually. You are rubbish at that. Now, by all means, persevere. No one's going to stop you for doing that. But if, after, say, an amount of time that could be 3, 6, 9, 12 months, You've persevered with what it was that you weren't very good at, and you're still not very good at it. How much longer? How much longer? How much makeup? How much cosmetic changes? How many different hairstyles? How many auditions before you realise that the dream that you've made for yourself isn't attainable unless you're fast asleep? Because when you're little, wishes are dreams, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I know this to be true because I remember dreaming about the girl over the road when I was 9, 10, 11, whatever, and I'm picturing the house that I lived in, and she lived over the road, and I saw her play, and I dreamt that one day she'd be my girlfriend. And because I'd dreamt it enough times, and because it happened, I thought that's how it was done. It's not true, but when you get older, that reality doesn't leave you. Because in many ways, what you dream at night time are still wishes. They're still the same thing. I remember when I first started work, and I was thinking, this work lacks no fun. But I used to dream, and I can't remember how I became rich, but I remember dreaming about how much money would I have to have so I can live on the interest. And because I was quite good at maths, I'd do the calculations in my head and work out how much money I needed so I could live on the interest. This is how I was made. I didn't do it to myself. It's the world that I lived in. It's the struggle that I saw my mum going through to bring us up. I saw that the money game, the money scramble, was difficult. It was hard. I lied when I was 11 to go to work. I said I was 13. Nobody checked. So I started to go. I went to work at 11. This was a very good lesson for me because it taught me the money scramble. It's not changed. It didn't change then. It's not changed now. But there's less money and more scramblers, isn't there? And when you're on the socialist game, which we're in, the idea is to make us all dependents.
Yes.
We're all dependent. And some people will say, oh, the government are injecting. The government don't have any money. The government are putting 12 billion into the mortgage market. And that sounds like it's a good thing. They want you to say thanks very much for putting the money in. Let me tell you a bit about that 12 billion, what will happen to it. First of all, the 12 billion will be available to the banking system.
Yeah.
And let's assume just for the hell of it, that the 12 billion does become available to people who have genuine, legitimate applications for mortgages. Let's go with that, shall we? And because of the fractional reserve system that the banks use, that 12 billion, through process of being issued and banked, will be generated into around about 120 billion pounds.
Yes.
That 120 billion of what is called credit, which is really debt, will then be available for further mortgaging.
Yeah.
And you can say, yeah, but what will happen is the painters, the decorators, the glazers, the roofers, the plumbers, the sparkies, they'll all be busier because of the improvement in the house market. Okay, let's keep the argument going. Maybe that's true. But what will happen is they'll inject. Okay, first of all, 12 billion goes onto the debt side of the government payment.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're now paying interest, which means you and I are now paying interest on the 12 billion, which is just added on to the made-up figure of 1.5 trillion, which now exists. So it's another 12 billion. Drop in the ocean, you say. The 120 billion will be issued from banks over the next 3 to 5 years, let's say, or however fast it's dished out, I don't know. And 240 billion will be paid back. So from the 12 billion that you think is a great idea, the economy will become 240 billion pounds poorer.
Worse off, yeah.
Over time.
Yeah. And where does that go back to? The bank.
120 billion get to the banks, and the 120 billion that they fractionally reserved is destroyed, and the 12 billion, ideally, will go back to the original lender.
Yep.
That's the idea. That's how the money system works. Let me give you another example of how the money system works, but I won't do it. I'll let somebody else do it.
When you're ready to rise up, you'll rise up. All the power you need is in your hands. Now look around you. Our financial systems have been hijacked by a generation of thieves. While you're working harder and harder for less and less, the game is being rigged against you. They're turning all of us into virtual slaves. Looters, at the heart of our financial system, are price-fixing our most precious resources. Food, water, energy, gold, even the value of money itself is being siphoned away by high-level crooks in a giant mushrooming conspiracy of unstoppable corruption. They're robbing billions of people of trillions of dollars a year, folks. There is no need for austerity measures. There is no need for financial suffering. No need for poverty. There is no scarcity. We are simply the victims of a robbery of unimaginable proportions. We have been fed a lie so vast it oppresses all of humanity. The truth is, there is more than enough to go around. 60 years ago, productivity was increasing so fast, they predicted by today, entire families could live comfortably on the income of just one provider, working only 10 hours a week. They wondered what we'd do with all of our spare time. What happened to that dream? Turns out they were right. What took a full work week back then can be done in just 10 hours today. We have technologies that multiply our efforts 1,000-fold and connect us in ways they never imagined. We are now 100 times richer than in that great heyday of the 50s. We are heirs to a great bounty of prosperity, $70 trillion in the U.S. alone, over $200,000 for every man, woman, and child. The only reason we don't experience this wealth is because it's being siphoned away by a corrupt criminal class. They loot through giant corporations, raising prices, lowering wages, stealing the fruits of our productivity. Where once whole families prospered with just one provider, now both parents work, delivering 8 times the productivity but struggling to make ends meet. They control the media using hot-button social issues to divide us, brother against brother, so we fight each other while they loot our sacred institutions. They make us fear too big to fail banks collapsing, but if they did, we'd suddenly recover the 8 times our income that's being siphoned away every single day. Don't give yourselves to these crooks who abuse you and enslave you, who steal your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel. Let us burn these leeches off our backs. Let us replace their corrupt systems with better systems that benefit everyone. Let us reclaim the fruits of our productivity. Let us share our prosperity. We can do this now. We are the creators, and when we come together, we have the power to create whatever future we want.
But we don't, do we?
We don't.
We don't, because we cannot agree on what day of the week it is, hardly, can we?
No.
Why are we so disunited?
Too much stuff to argue over.
It's because they've divided us to the point of we're so fragmented. We're so dismembered. And what we argue about is just crazy.
It is, doesn't really matter.
It's just crazy. I blew my top today in the shop, actually. I did blow my top. I really did bite at somebody today, and I feel quite guilty about it. And I will apologise to him, but there was a conversation going on in my shop today about the bedroom tax. And the two people concerned were bitching about the neighbours. The next door neighbour and the guy over the road, and so-and-so got so-and-so.
Oh, dear me, it's working perfectly, isn't it?
And I tried. I walked out, and I tried to count to 10, and I got to 1, and I came back in, and I said, listen at you people, listen at you. Listen at you. You pick on your neighbours. You pick on the people over the road. Because you're scared of the real thieves, aren't you? The bankers who are stealing your future and your dreams. The bankers who don't give a shit about your kids' dreams. their ambitions. They don't even dream about buying houses and driving cars anymore.
No.
That's how much of the future they've already stolen.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to steal every light that you ever saw in their eyes. And you want your neighbour to be 10 or 20 quid a week worse off. You nasty, vicious, vindictive little insects. I shouldn't have said that, really. Not really.
You couldn't help yourself, though, could you?
No.
No.
Because it was a fine example of where we are today.
Yeah.
We're a nation of cowards. We are the most domesticated nation, I believe, in the world. I wouldn't have thought it was possible. But now I know it is. Because we're here.
Yep. We are.
To enslave a nation, you do it by debt or by the sword. They've done us by debt. And if we don't do as we're told,
They'll get the swords out.
they'll get the swords out,
Yeah, they will.
In divvy duel. Divided into 2 and into 2 and into 2. Just like a horse chestnut, isn't it? Divide, and what do you find inside? Conquer.
Conkers.
The whole play is scripted. And if we could accept it's scripted, what are we arguing about? What are we arguing about? They've got us to the point now where we're frightened of the water we drink, the food we eat, the colour of someone's skin, the political persuasion, the sexual persuasion, the air we breathe, the police that we talk to, and the councils that are supposed to provide our services. We don't trust the judges, and we don't trust the doctors.
No, it's working perfectly, isn't it?
And all we do is make it worse. That is what we're doing. We're making it worse. We can't see it. We think telling people bad news is the way to break them out of their sleep.
Yeah.
How's it working? How's it working? Ask yourself. How's it working, everybody? Is it working? No, it's not, is it?
Not really.
It's not working, is it? We got people, proper socialists, who spend all day clicking bloody buttons. And they would like the world to share with them. We've got people in this movement who study the legal system all day and all night. And I do respect them for it. But I do have a problem with a small number. And that small number, they study the legal system all day and all night. They expect gas for free, electric for free, water for free. They expect to use the roads for free. They expect their benefits to be delivered on time. They're thieves.
Yeah.
They're the worst socialists of all, really. Because they do not see that somebody somewhere, in great number, is actually having to do something to provide that service.
Yeah.
But they want that service because they've created a reality that says it's ours anyway. And they back it up with a fictional monetary system that includes them for producing nothing. Now, I realise in the wonderful world of Disney, which we'll call the internet, that may well seem a practical proposition. But I don't think it's going to go well in the real world. Do you?
No.
No. Because whether we like it or not, if we don't produce anything, we're never going to get along with those that do. Not really.
No.
Not really. Because you're enslaved. First they do it by debt, and if that doesn't work, they do it by the sword. It's madness. We're living in a world of abstract madness. It's all bloody scripted. If we can just stand far enough back, we would laugh at ourselves, but it would be gallows humour. Because the whole world is playing. Now, are we right or wrong to be frightened of all these services that are given to us? It doesn't look good, does it? It doesn't look good, does it?
No.
In a country of 62, 63 million people. Let's do a hypothetical here. Let's get a real conversation. You're not ready for this, but it doesn't matter that you're not ready for it. Let's sit in number 10, shall we? And let's sit at the head of the table and pretend that politicians have got the power to change things. Let's do that for a bit of fun here. Okay, here's my question for today's topic. Ladies and gentlemen, technology has reached the stage where it can replace a lot of the services that people are providing at this moment in time. Technology is available to us now to do the mundane services, the regular service industry stuff, and if we employ technology to do it, because it's so cost effective, it will allow us to provide services and products at a price that is competitive in the global marketplace. If we don't allow this technology into today's modern world of commerce, then as a country we will struggle to challenge and compete and sell into the global marketplace. Now, of course, what will happen is it will actually increase unemployment because the machines will do it cheaper. They'll do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The comparisons on wages are obvious. 168 hours in a week, that is 4 working weeks. They'll do 4 working weeks in one, and they do not require financial reward. The initial investment is all you need, and the maintenance, of course. They don't need holidays, they don't need sick pay. In fact, all in all, it's hard to deny that technology is going to, whether we like it or not, be part of tomorrow's modern world. So, we need to have a chat to our populations, our societies and our people, and we need to say to them, look guys and girls, this is the reality of it all. We really need you to stop having as many kids, please. Don't have as many kids because we don't have jobs for them all. And because we're trying to create such an efficient economy, we're not going to actually give you anything for those kids that we regard as spare and not needed. What do you think would happen if that was the speech of the day? Or what do you think if it was broadcast live around the country? What would happen? Jesus Christ. There would be absolute chaos, wouldn't there? It's a human right to have children. They don't. It'd be madness, wouldn't it? Now, is it a human right to have children? Well, I don't know. Is it? It's natural. It's natural, and it should be maybe desirable for the majority of people, hopefully, otherwise we won't be here much longer. But is it a human right? Well, let's not argue if it is or it isn't. Let's take the next step, which is, okay, whether it is or it isn't, it doesn't matter for this conversation. But is it a child's right to be born into a family that can provide for its needs? You say, well, yeah, I suppose you could say that. If you're talking about rights, if it's your right to have them, then maybe the child has a right to at least, for you to choose to have, maybe the child has a right to at least be born into a family that isn't going to impoverish him. But that doesn't matter. Those two conversations are not important here. I think the only real thing that we need to consider here is, if you need somebody else's money to provide for your child from the outset, do we accept that?
No,
do we? And then we get to, well, why do the government pay child benefit? Well, that gets us into the realms of whose child is it? Because they pay for you to bring it up. They provide all the services from their standpoint. You've awarded them another slave. Now, we know this by signing the certificate, don't we? Okay, the registration of birth is what we've given them a new ship. Or vessel, or fish, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But we've docked and unloaded. The bill of loading, the bill of lading is the birth certificate. We've given it to them.
We have.
So they say, okay, we'll help you keep that child healthy. We'll give you a little bit to make sure it doesn't starve, and we'll give it all the necessary health care and education that we decide it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And at 16 or 18 or so, we'll set them on to work in the plantation. And for the next 50 years or so, we shall reap what we've sown, if you see what I mean.
Mm.
Now, there is... yeah, we do pay for our own slavery. Just think, there is actually a rumour going around within this alternative news gang that our boys and girls coming out of university are 30 to 50 grand in debt. This is not true. They're 30 to 50 grand in debt if they want to be, but they don't have to be at all. The government of the day still help with fees. They still help families with a certain... there's an income barrier of about 50 grand, I think. If you earn more than £50,000 as a joint income in your house, I don't believe there's much help for the fees. Below 50 grand, there is gradated help. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. And for regular houses, it is available. So that's your and my taxes are still being given to students who want to better themselves. So the average debt that a student can come out with, or the average debt that I know 2 students are expecting to come out with, is less than 20,000. So this 30, 40, 50,000 lark, 80,000, I've heard somebody say, this is not true unless the student in question borrows to do that. Okay, with a little bit of financial management, 15 to 20 grand is what the kids are expecting to come out of with. So we need to stop repeating things just because other people we trust say it. They might be saying it for the right reasons, but it's not always true in every case. Now then, let's move on there, because that's a little bit of a hypothetical argument about whose kids are they. If you need somebody else's money to look after them, what made you think they were yours? It is going to come to that, by the way. We are going to get to the point of whose kids are they. If you can't see it in the news already, you're going to see it. You are going to see it. Now, we have a lot of news stories here. And some are from, as I said, 2.5, 3 years ago. But these news stories I've picked out, and these are just... This took me 10-15 minutes to do. That's all it took me, 10-15 minutes. It's no problem at all. And I want to go with that one if I can. Can you actually reach out?
I can, yeah.
One? And that is that the governments around the world have decided that they're not going to stop having children, no matter however much effort we put in. Only the Chinese have actually managed to get the one-child policy going properly. I believe Russia are actually paying their citizens to have children. And here we've been told that overpopulation is the problem. Now, we know it isn't. Anybody who does a little bit of research knows that overpopulation is not the problem in the way that there's too many people on the planet. That we just don't have enough for them to do. We don't. This is the god awful truth that we're having to at least consider properly nowadays as grown-ups. We can say, well, why do we have to work? Look at the lifestyle you live. Look at the lifestyle you lead. The electric, the gas, the water, the house, the car. Okay,
it's all been provided
by somebody who works, by people who work
and worked in the past.
That's right. So we can at least have a conversation that you're going to have to do something. Now, I played the Rise Up tune there, which is a very good tune for at least telling us where we are today. Yes, they did promise us through increased productivity that we were going to be living a life of, a life of luxury.
You'd be working 20 hours a week, and the rest of the time it'd be leisure. And
that's right. The tune openly says that.
Yeah.
They wondered what we'd be doing with our time. Well, the tune also tells you exactly where our money's gone. We're not going to turn this around in a way that one step forward will fix every single problem. Right? It's not going to work like that at all. It never has, and it's never going to. Why don't we have doctors, dentists, nurses, lawyers, solicitors and policemen in our rank and number? Why not?
Yeah, we've asked us that question
why don't we have them?
Plenty of times, haven't we?
Why don't we have them? Because if the world as we see it, is the reality that others can see if they choose to, why don't we have others in here from those professions? It's a difficult one to answer, and it's one that usually people sort of just say, it's because they haven't lost everything yet. That's what most people say.
Yes, yeah.
You have to lose everything to realise the system is rigged.
Yeah.
But that's not true. Living proof is yours truly.
Yeah.
Look, I haven't lost everything.
No, I haven't lost everything yet.
Yeah, I've got a successful little business, and I don't have to do this, if you see what I mean. There is no financial necessity for me to try and save myself in a way that others do it. Now I'm making a mess of that. I'm not in financial difficulties.
No.
So it is true that to a point you have to lose everything to at least accept that reality is not what you thought it was. But it's not true that you have to do that. That has to happen before you can do that. So let's consider that it must be that these people in some part do know what's going on. And I have conversations all the time that they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe not the whole picture, and I don't think I've got the whole picture either. But I know I've got a grasp of the money system and a grasp of how politics really works. The news stories we don't choose to argue about very much, because by the time you finished arguing about one, there's another 25 queuing up for you to argue about, isn't there?
Yeah.
Now, we'll read the headlines before we go tonight, because I'm going to go through all these stories and I'm going to say, this one didn't come true, this one did come true, this one didn't come true, because I'm going to show you that the headlines are just bombarding us with, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to try this, we're going to change this, we're going to do this. And it comes so thick and fast that when we look back at a couple of years ago, and you think, oh, well, they haven't implemented that yet, and they haven't implemented that yet, and they haven't implemented that yet. This is like an insurance salesman's daily pitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's whichever one gets answered.
Yeah, which one are you going to back?
Which one you're going to go with
put
today.
Your 2 shilling on. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, there is a school of thought that says that because of our current system and its financial theft, as it were, from everybody, I mean, you can save all your life, you can set yourself up with a private pension, you can pay off your mortgage, and you can put some money in the bank and be proud of yourself at the end of your working career that you appear to have been in some part successful. And then you can find that until you've spent most of it, you can't have anything. Whereas the people who didn't do any of the things that you've done, they already get the service straight away.
Yeah.
You know, there is a school of thought that says, I'm going to sell my house when I'm 65, 66, 67. I'm going to put it on the 5-to-1 at market raising. And if it comes in, I won't have to worry again. And if it doesn't, I'll still get the bloody services that I was going to get. But that's not true. The NHS, or the Death Management Service, is going on pay-as-you-go. It is going on pay-as-you-go. So that's the same thing. Say, well, no, it isn't really. It's not going to force you to sell your house. You're going to sign it over. So, well, we do that already. Yeah, but the government said there'd be sort of 35, 36, 38, 40,000 quid. They're lowering that now. They've done a U-turn on that now. Now it's whether you've got £23,000 in cash saved up. Now, £23,000 in cash might seem a lot of money to a lot of people, but to some people who are 65, 66, 67, it's not as much as you think.
No.
They want to downsize. You see, they want to downsize their home like everybody does.
It's all they've got to live on for the rest of their time.
That's right. And the downsizing releases that cash.
Yeah.
They want to leave it to the kids. That's not going to happen, is it?
No.
Going back to the globalists and how they must all be working to the same plan. We see Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. You know, he was a thorn in the side, but he's been replaced. Yep. We see Assad in Syria. He's playing his thorn in the side, but he's going to get replaced over time. The same with the Libya guy, Gaddafi.
And
Saddam.
And it's gone through the years, hasn't it?
And it's like Osama bin dead a while. He was playing it. I mean, how many times did they kill him? You know, Osama bin dead a while. They did him a few times, didn't they?
A few times, yeah.
And
probably 6 or it was.
I don't know, but it was more than once.
I know it was more
That's
than
all
once.
we know. There was more than once. Definitely more than once. But this only makes sense if they're all playing the part. It must be that they're all playing the part. And what we get to dissect is just the real-life movie that they want us to watch. Why would we argue with it when the globalists around the world clearly tell us that they can't make their minds up whether to just kill us all or let us party ourselves to death? Now, they've gone down the lines of letting us party ourselves to death.
They have, yeah.
While taking it off us all.
Yeah, paying as you go.
Definitely. And we are going. You know, I go see my mum in Massam. She's parked up at Massam Church. You know, she's parked at the nice new corner of the graveyard. I walk past the we're going faster. We are going faster. We're going earlier.
Yeah.
We're checking out earlier. If somebody asks me, are we going to self-destruct as a race? I'd say we already are.
We're already doing
We're already doing it.
Yeah.
There's some quotes there that confirm that we're all expecting a depopulation crisis. We're already in one. We're already expecting the Codex Alimentarius to kick in and knock out 4 billion people. It's underway. It's started. What you're looking for to start, I don't know. It's already here.
Mm.
The food is being jacked. We know it is. But the newspapers have got no problems telling us.
No.
They tell us exactly.
Mm.
You know, the Daily Mail, God bless them, I mean, they print some absolute crap.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because most people read the Daily Mail. Mm. And it tells us all sorts. I mean, let's have a look.
Yeah,
chemicals in foods can double miscarriage. Right, this is the Daily Fail. It never lets me down. Let's have a little look. Right, chemicals in food can double miscarriage risk. Researchers warn pregnant women of dangers at home. World Health Organization, the Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Remember Doctor Who, the World Health Organization? Mm. That's who we're looking at. All right, Doctor Who, exterminate. What do you think their job is? Right, their job is to control the world's health. They never promised it was anything other than that. The World Health Organization are here to control the world's health.
The world's health, yes.
Right, some of the globalists, some of our leaders are saying, well, I mean, is it, what's his face, the BBC granddad of nature, what's his name?
Attenborough.
Yeah, I mean, you said, well, to starve the third, to starve him.
Mm.
What's Jack Straw said over the years? The English are a race not worth saving. A nation not worth saving. Yeah. We mentioned that last week, but it should play on your mind, this. You really should wonder why Jack Straw would say the English are a nation not worth saving. Mm-hmm. Because they're having conversation of who lives and who dies.
Yep.
And I'm going to say one thing here, and people aren't going to like it. The reality that we'd like to create does not exist. The reality that we live in does. And until we face this reality properly, we look into its eyes, and we face its corruption. Anything else is just talking the talk.
Yeah.
Okay? We can all talk. But if we're not prepared to walk, then they'll keep us in this prison called the internet. Mm-hmm. But it's a playground.
Yeah, it is.
It's a playground because this is where you spend your playtime. Because fish always spend their time in school. And school is a controlled environment of lessons and playtime. Mm-hmm. And our environment is controlled.
It's just that. Mm.
We will learn the hard way if we don't learn the easier way.
Mm.
Those that won't learn are going to suffer. And those that do learn are going to suffer eventually. But once enough of us know how this works, I do believe that we cannot have an entire human race enslaved in the way that they want us to be enslaved. But they're going to try.
Yeah,
they are going to go for it.
They're having a good go, aren't they?
They are going to go for it. This chemicals in food. Let me finish it off, because the World Health Organization aims to ban toxins causing 80% miscarriage risk. Bisphenol A, BPA. We've all heard this, haven't we? Mm. We've all heard this over the years. Found in plastic water bottles, receipts and glasses. Remember when we told people that years ago? It's even in the receipt off the cash register. They looked at us like we were nuts, didn't they? Nail varnish, makeup, deodorant, shampoo. Mm-hmm. Well, if you read the article, it doesn't ever do the, what's it doing in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a little research tells you that they chose this.
A new Meximol.
They chose this in 80 years ago. They chose to put this in. And what is bisphenol A? It's an estrogen mimicker. Mm-hmm. Okay, it makes girls more aggressive. It makes their chest bigger, and their bum bigger. Mm-hmm. All right, and the boys, it feminizes the boys.
Yeah,
that's where we get the man boobs thing from. Yeah. And it feminizes the boys. Mm-hmm. It turns the boys into girls and the girls into boys. Tell me you can't see it, and I'll tell you it's just that you can't see it. But that's what's going on. We're making girls into boys and boys into girls. Look at the relationship stats. We've got another story in here about just how desperate it's getting. How desperate it's getting that we all start relationships up, right? We all start these relationships off, right, with a promise, don't we? After a period of time, we do the negotiating, or the courting is it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because courting is like you're really discussing the terms and conditions of the relationship, aren't you? You're negotiating a contract that you might actually write down in ink in the future called a marriage. Yeah? Right, so you spend time negotiating the terms and conditions of the relationship that you both want. And should it be successful, you get to the point of contracting. Why you would go to the government anymore or not is neither here nor there. We won't have that conversation. But if that relationship fails after all the promises that you made to each other, someone's been lying, haven't they? Someone didn't tell the truth, did they? Somebody was putting on a fake face to get that far.
Yeah.
Because in a relationship breakup, there's always one that gets hurt and one that does the hurting.
One does the hurting, yeah.
Always is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the one that does the hurting was the one that was doing the lying.
Mm.
And if you don't think that's true, it doesn't matter. Because that's what I've seen. That's what I've experienced as well, by the way.
Mm.
You know, I have experienced a divorce. Now, I didn't like it, so I didn't choose to do it again. But the show's not about me and my marriage. But what we can look is, we can look at the Bridget Jones Society that's been built for us. And again, married couples are now in a minority in the UK. Well, of course they are. This is the plan. If you haven't read Brave New World, well, you haven't read Brave New World. But you should do.
Mm.
If you haven't read 1984, well, you should do. Mm. If you're aware of what's going on around you and you haven't read these two books, then you're not really aware, are you? You're not really sure, are you? I mean, I do think more than half the people who say they've read those books haven't read those books.
No, I don't believe they have either.
No, I don't think so. You know, Aldous Huxley's a smart guy. He is a smart guy. It doesn't matter whether I believe him or whether I like him or whether who his brother was or who sat on what committee wherever. It doesn't matter. These are things that don't need arguing about. Read what they've written and decide for yourself if these people were qualified to say it. I think they were. We've got lots of clips from Huxley and George Orwell and people like that, haven't we? Mm-hmm. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, let's just remind ourselves of what Mr. Huxley actually said. It's not difficult.
Well, now, in regard to this problem of the ultimate revolution, this has been very well summed up by the moderator. In the past, we can say that all revolutions have essentially aimed at changing the environment in order to change the individual. I mean, there's been the political revolution, the economic revolution, in the time of the Reformation, the religious revolution. All these aimed, as I say, not directly at the human being, but at his surroundings, so that by modifying the surroundings you did achieve, at one remove, an effect upon the human being. Today, we are faced, I think, with the approach of what may be called the ultimate revolution, the final revolution, where, well, it seems to me that the nature of the ultimate revolution with which we are now faced is precisely this, that we are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy, who have always existed and presumably always will exist, to get people actually to love their servitude. This is seems to me the ultimate in malevolent revolution, shall we say. And this is a problem which has interested me for many years, and about which I wrote 30 years ago a fable, The Brave New World, which is essentially the account of a society making use of all the devices at that time available, and some of the devices which I imagined to be possible, making use of them in order to, first of all, to standardize the population, to iron out inconvenient human differences, to create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system. And
I hope people actually do hear that for what it is. You know what I mean? I hope people hear that for what it is. That was 1962. Lots of people, you know, would be aware of that, but the depth of it, the understanding of it, the realisation of where we are today and why we're here today. We are having some sound trouble, aren't we, just over the past week or two. Never mind, not to worry about. Not to worry. England have won 2-0, just in case you didn't know. Phil's keeping us up to date with the score, so well done, England. Football, there's a game, isn't it? There is a very interesting game. 11 players, all led on the field, all led on the field by children. They have to have kids to hold their hands, don't they? Have fun. I don't think you're switched on, Philip. Get yourself. No, I don't think so.
All right. Yes.
So it is.
I'm back on now.
It's 3 minutes to 10. You listen to us on Awake Radio. We're having more sound problems. I'm going to get Steve to come and fiddle with my computer and take out what he did to it.
Right. Yeah.
Take out what he did to it, because it's never worked properly since then. So whatever he did to it, Steve, come and take it out and fix it, unfix it for me. Anyway, you listen to us on Awake Radio. We're on Blog Talk, and I don't know if we're being simulcast again on the Shiziz Radio Network. I hope we are. My name's Paul.
My name's Andy.
And it is Tuesday the 15th of October 2013. If you're listening to this on as a YouTube video, you've already missed a lot of the songs and clips, and I forgot to say that at the start. We're going to have to put a note up to make... in this can't concentrate camp that we live in, okay, and my memory's starting to disappear as well. I can't remember to do all the things that we need to do. But if you listen to this on a YouTube video edit, which will be up tomorrow by Phil, thank you very much, then you've missed the tunes, you've missed some of the clips, and you've missed some of what we're saying this evening.
Yep.
This is our Tuesday night rant. We don't do the full 2 hours, because to turn a 2-hour show into a YouTube video is far too long.
Yeah.
People go onto YouTube. The best you can get off people in YouTube is, an hour, maybe an hour and a bit if you're lucky.
Some people 10 minutes with the things they've all got to troll through to satisfy their... the fix for the day.
Now, the ultimate revolution, this is the last revolution that the higher-ups say that they're going to have to engineer, as it were. They think that after this point they'll be done. They'll have us where they want us. The new man, the new post-human, almost, as they call it. Well, maybe they will. And maybe we have to consider, what are we going to do about it? Because... we can educate ourselves all we want to. What about the kids?
Yeah.
What about the kids? Because educating ourselves is not what matters here.
Not really.
Educating ourselves and then educating the kids is what matters. Because the future doesn't belong to us anymore.
Yeah.
It's their future. They're going to be the doctors, the dentists, the judges, the lawyers, the solicitors, the counsellors. They're going to do all these jobs.
I know. I'm having trouble getting through to mine at the moment. But then again, they're busy doing the things that we did, but got a job and trying to keep the job and working long hours and coming home tired and having to make a meal and then do the things that you want to do in between in the time that they've stolen off you, and to throw something else into the mix and tell them that it's a little bit, and it is a little bit of doom and gloom, isn't it? And we've said this before.
But we
are the doom and gloom stuff. But you've got to do the doom and gloom stuff to know that there is you do come out the other side a more rounded person.
We've got past that.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're doing doom and gloom because you're still living the nightmare.
Yeah.
Now we've come out at the other end and we see it as, this completes what it was that I was missing. This completes me.
Yeah.
I now know what it is I'm here for. I'm here to learn. I'm here to educate. And then towards the end of my time, I'm here to teach.
Yeah.
And it's not that I think I can do it.
No.
It's that I know I've taken too many years to know what I should be doing. So this is my garbled, cocked up attempt at trying to catch up where I should be.
And there was a time when wisdom was wisdom. We know that's about England, isn't it? It's about the population.
We know the word dom is England.
Yes.
The non-doms, non-English. And we know the word wise or whiz. Yeah, wizard, whiz hard, whiz, wise.
But the wizard always had a long hair and grey beard. A long white hair and a long beard. White beard. We went to the white-haired people. That's why in the pictures, the Raphael movement and all that, and they did paintings of God and all these people with grey hair, because they'd lived a life. They knew what was coming, and the younger people used to go to them and get advice. And we used to do that with our grandparents, didn't we? They used to sit you on your knee and they used to tell you the stories, and used to go to your parents first, but then if you didn't get the answer you wanted, you had the luxury of going to your grandparents.
That was the gift.
Yes.
That was the gift that grandparents had. They didn't tell you what to do.
No.
They put it in stories.
They did.
And we loved it.
And we did, yes.
And that's what happens today. These are just stories.
They are.
These are just stories.
But they're not stories to help.
Well, it does, though. You see, it screams out to me.
Yes, yeah.
Everything around me is screaming out to me, learn or lose, learn or lose, learn or lose. Everything teaches me. Everything confirms the decode, learn or lose, learn or lose. And it's not hard. It's not hard, is it?
No.
It's not hard. I mean, we don't shout and scream at the world like we used to. If you listen to our shows closely, we're annoyed with each other. We're annoyed with how long we've taken.
Yeah, it's taken me far too long to work this out.
And what we do is we share what we see. Now, it doesn't matter if you don't like it. We're not going to change the show because you don't like it. We share what we see. And what we see is a lot of lost people. Some claiming to be awake but making things worse. Going on YouTube and watching videos is not the awake part. Okay? The reason why we use the word awake, and this is very, very important, or it was in my lifetime, is because you have to die first.
Yes.
You have to go through... The Masons sort of do a counterfeit version, don't they?
They do, yeah. Blindfold you,
and
you have to fall backwards and put your trust in somebody else to catch you.
Right, but this isn't what I'm talking about.
No.
The awake, it's your funeral that you've been to.
It is, yeah.
It's you that you're letting go, the old you.
The old person,
The old you has got to be reborn into the new you.
Yeah.
And there is a saying, isn't there, with great wisdom comes great sorrow, stuff like that, you know? Now, I'm not saying that I've got great wisdom, good God, no.
No, me neither.
But the sorrow, we felt it, didn't we?
Yeah, feeling the sorrow.
We still feel it now.
Yeah.
It still
definitely
hurts.
Yeah.
I
had a little weep the other day. We were chatting, weren't we? And you said something to me, and it just I couldn't hold it back. Right?
But
the enormity of it was that the setting again. It just fits in that they're setting each one against each other, and that's where the divide comes. And I saw the divide, and I thought, God, it's in fact it's right before your eyes. It's in your own family.
It is. And
when they're dividing your own family up and telling you that you should be in a family unit, and then dividing the family unit with the poison that they're putting out, and that was it. I were gone, wasn't I?
I know. It's because you now can see it.
Yeah, the enormity of it hits you, and you think, yeah, it's work. As we said, it's working perfectly, doing exactly what it says on the tin.
They couldn't possibly have this level of control over us if they hadn't had it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
It's not new what we've got now.
No, it isn't.
You know, I think
these are not new control systems.
Anybody with a with a couple of working brain cells is gonna really confirm the next sort of line. They always stay at least one step beyond, don't they?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I say one step beyond because I don't know how big that step is.
No.
I'll take it to be 30 to 60 years. They plan 200 to 300 years.
Oh, without a doubt.
I've read that in more than one book written by people who who wrote the books to be given to the next generation of the control system.
These are templates to look back on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to accept that this staying one step beyond may have been going for a long time. Hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah.
How long did it take them to tell us the world was round?
It's been passed down to each control system, hasn't it? And each control system we know has its elites. You've printed off this Kissinger. I think did we mention him last week about Kissinger and talking about him controlling the food?
Yeah.
And you've printed off something. It's 2 pages here. Food as a weapon. And that wasn't you. You talked about Karl Marx, and the Russians used it against their people. They starved them into submission.
They did it with the coal miners.
Back in 19...
They did it with the coal miners in the late 70s. They bloody starved them.
I know.
They barricaded them in.
Yeah, and if you think that's not coming now...
Well, we're getting a new version now, aren't we?
Exactly, that's the difference. We're getting the digital version.
But we get a new version of starvation. And this is where they don't lose out monetarily. You see, we keep buying food, but it's got nothing
Nothing
that we
in it.
need in it.
No, it's no nutritional value.
Right, so we're all overweight, but dying of diseases of malnutrition.
Yeah, because all we can afford is the processed ham and the processed cheese. We can't afford the proper ham and the proper cheese.
It's genius, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. And
It
just
is.
Kissinger 1974, Plan for Food Control Genocide. It's written there. The Executive Intelligence Review.
They've always done it.
They have.
Always.
And
There is
then-
nothing new under the sun except the people who play.
Guys, order another round because we're staying here. Yeah. What was I thinking going back to Ant? I mean, we just got here, and we have more than enough food to get us through the winter, right? Why go back?
But there was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant.
One ant. Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one? Are you kidding? Well, how about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
He's quite the motivational speaker, isn't he? Let's ride!
It is life's wonderful challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if it was easy, I wouldn't have taken it. But it's not easy.
No.
It challenges me. It makes me learn. It makes me listen. And it teaches me manners. It teaches me manners in company. And it teaches me to listen. Now, you said last week it's wrong to tell people they're wrong. You're right about that. Because they ain't going to like you. They are not going to like you. A good teacher shows that they're wrong.
Yeah.
You don't tell them they're wrong. Because they'll now fight you to be right.
They will.
And they will bring all sorts of evidence. Before the world was confirmed to be round, the scientists of the day and the mathematicians of the day, they went to extraordinary lengths to prove that it was flat. The lengths they went to prove that the sun went round us was even more ridiculous. And only after all the defences they put up had been disproved was the reality allowed in. This is what we have to do. We have to ask simple questions. Why don't we ever see our MP? Because he doesn't belong to us. He works for the corporate greed he gets.
Yeah.
Why do we never have any money? Because it's designed to make us poor.
It is.
Why do we never get well? We just get treatment. Because there's no money in making us well. These are things that people know. And most people know that the food's been messed with. If you go back to 1983, try this in your head. I can do it because I did it over the weekend. We had a conversation over the weekend. If you go back to 1983, that's 30 years ago. And I'm thinking of a nice restaurant that I used to go to. Not very often because I just didn't go very often. Restaurants 30 years ago were special occasions, weren't they?
Yeah.
And I can remember the main courses in the restaurant that I'm thinking of was, I think, about $8.95. Might have been $7.95. It doesn't matter. For the conversation, it's one or the other. If I go to the same standard restaurant today and order what would be a similar meal. Do you know how much that main course is? It's $9.95 to $11.95. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
30 years. Now let's have a look. 30 years ago, I can go back 30 years in my mind. I can go back to 1983, and if I remember rightly, I was somewhere in the region of, I was either working for the MOD or I was driving a van.
Yeah.
Can't remember exactly, but I can think of the jobs that I was doing, and I can remember driving the van. I got paid more driving the van than I did working for the MOD. And I think I got about £110 or £120 a week. I can't remember exactly. No, 1983. I'm a bit further on there. Hang on. No, that's less than that. About £100 a week or thereabouts.
I would say I were on about 70 quid a week.
No, maybe.
That were in. I were in the engineering, so
I'm a bit early with myself here, actually. Yeah, I'm a bit. I was in the MOD, and It was less than £300 a month because we got paid monthly. It was around about £300 a month, so I'll go with 75 quid a week. Well, without going into details of how much I earn now, it's more than 75 quid a week. But the actual increase on the meal, if we do like £8.50 and £10.50 or something like that, that's only a 23% increase. If I do a 22 or 23% increase on 75 quid, right, I only get 90-something. What I'm trying to show is that the cost of food that we're all being told is becoming astronomical is another red herring. It's not true. All right, you're being told to blame food for being poor. You're being told to blame the fuel prices for being poor. These are not the reasons that you're poor. No. You're poor because the productivity that you're doing today is much greater than it was years ago. But you don't get to keep the extra productivity.
No, you're not
having it.
You're not keeping it. No.
All right? We can prove that the fuel prices are just the same as they were 30, 40 years ago, very simply. I remember 1975. I was part of a gang of us, 3 guys, and we had an old motorbike. And I was only 10 or 11, but we had a field that we could ride it round. It was an old BSA.
Yeah.
You know, it broke more times than enough. But we bought it, we kept it going, we taught ourselves a little bit about mechanics.
Yeah.
And I can remember walking the 1 mile from where I lived to the garage to go and get it.
With your petrol can?
With the petrol can, yeah. And I remember how much it was to fill that petrol can.
And it was a gallon can.
It was a gallon can.
Not a litre.
And I remember how much. It was 50 pence.
Yeah.
It was 50p to fill that can up. So then we go to a little bit of research. What was the wage in the 1970s? 1975. What were what you would call minimum wage staff getting at that time? We'll use minimum wage staff as the example that I could find, and these were supermarket shelf stackers, yeah. And
till operators.
Around about 55 to 65 pence an hour. That was the wage, okay? So let's go forward a little bit. Let's do 60 pence, all right? So let's go from 1975 to 2013. What is the minimum wage today? The minimum wage today is £6.23, something like that, I think. £6.23. So it's a multiplier of 10.2.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So let's have a look at the fuel price, which is £6.40, £6.30.
Yeah, something like that, a gallon.
Yeah. So can you see that the minimum wage at £6.23 and the price of a gallon of fuel at £6.30ish, still the same, isn't it? So you're shouting at the fuel prices when they haven't really gone up in real terms. You're shouting at the food prices when they've hardly gone up in real terms. But you're not looking at the thieving banking system.
Yeah.
You're not looking at the mega profits of the gas, the electric, and the water companies.
That's it. It's distracting you.
Okay, that's where your money's going.
That is.
You know that's where your money's going.
Yeah.
You can fight for your penny off a litre of fuel all day. I won't stop you, but you're fighting the wrong fight. That's not the fight that's going to enrich your children's lives. It's not going to do that, all right? The fuel companies, they're jacking up the prices, the gas, and once the gas and electric, once they've had enough, back on the fuel. Guarantee by January, February, we'll be focusing again on the fuel prices. Then the summertime comes and we forget about gas and electric because we don't use much of it. And then away we go again, you see. It's the same cycle year after year after year, and we don't choose to see it. We're focusing on the things that we shouldn't be focusing on. You know it's the bankers. You know it's the service industries that you pay for, your council. Your councillors, you know that they're up to no good. Because they're always up to no good. I didn't mean to start on that, by the way. That isn't where I wanted that conversation to go. We left that with, why so many failed relationships? Now, the one thing that I know about people who tell lies, people tell lies because they're frightened of the truth.
Yep.
All right, that's why people tell lies, because they're frightened of the truth. So people who lie are frightened. All right, so when you meet a liar, remember, they're frightened of you. So don't ever think a liar is somehow superior to you. Look at politicians. They know they're liars. They're frightened that you'll discover them. So I don't know what makes us think politicians are better than we are. I remember the Bilderberg. We've done this before.
Yeah.
Who was at the Bilderberg? What was his name?
Michael Meacher.
Michael Meacher, MP. Been in the Commons for years.
Yes.
Right? He came and stood on the back of what was a flatbed trailer.
Yeah.
Right? And all the people at the Bilderberg, they gave him the greatest respect.
They did.
They were quiet for him. Now that's
listened.
That's polite and that's fine. I'm not saying that's wrong. But they believed he was there to further their cause.
Yeah.
They honestly believed, after slating politicians week after week, night after night, month after month on the playground, they believed that this guy had turned up to further our cause.
Yeah, to help. Have we heard anything from him since? Have you heard anything? I've not heard anything from him since.
No.
No.
What did it confirm to us?
He admitted he wanted to be in there with them.
He almost said.
He was envious of what were going on. He weren't invited.
He pretty much said, if I'd been invited, I'd be in there, yeah. He pretty much
he did. He did say that.
So why did he turn up, do you think? Yeah, why did he turn up? He's an old man now.
He is, yeah. He's had his time. He's like you and I. We've had our time.
He's a career politician.
Yeah.
He's a career politician. Why he turned up that day, I don't know. I think in many ways he turned up for his own bloody ego.
Yeah.
And the people...
New voters he were after, that's all he were after.
The people believed him. This
They
is what we were uncomfortable.
You
You and I and George Stewart were sat there thinking, these people believe this kid.
We were looking round and thinking,
it's from the enemy camp.
Shaking our heads.
It's from the enemy camp.
He was, yeah.
Right, this is the enemy, and we give the enemy centre stage and give him a round of applause for coming.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, you've been in the Commons for 20-odd years. 20-odd years. We've got some questions for you, my friend.
I think I shouted out, you left it a bit late to start now. Nobody heard me, I don't think.
Around 17.8 million Britons, a third of the population. Well, that's not true. 17.8 million, well, I suppose that's adults. 17.8 million Britons, a third of the population say they are single. Some of them have got the wedding rings in the purses, by the way. Number of divorcees up by a fifth in a decade to 4.5 million people. There are around 113,000 civil partnerships. Many couples choose to cohabit or marry later in life. Experts say immigrants now form 30% of the population, from 4.9 million in... this is actually wrong. It says 4.9 million in 2011, but that means 2001 actually, to 8 million in 2011. So immigration is actually taking up what we would call our population increase over the past 10 years, majority. Now, I am not against immigration. Okay, I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because the majority of these immigrants, all right, they're actually contributing positively to the UK economy. Now, there is a small number, all right, that aren't. How many people are unemployed in this country? Well, we don't know how many people are unemployed because I don't trust the government stats. But we do know there's 9 million people who are not working. 9 million is the figure, just short of 9 million. And they're unproductive. All right, so for one reason or another, they aren't actually working. Now, a small number of those won't need to work. That's absolutely fine. And another small number of those, whatever reason, they don't have to work either, whether they're living off whatever. What I'm saying is that they don't need to be working. But I would say in excess of 7 to 8 million of those people are on some sort of benefit. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not knocking those people, but people think there's 2.49 million unemployed. And that's not true. That isn't true. I don't know what they've done with the other 6.5, 5.5 million people's figures. I do believe if you're just not looking for work, or you've given up looking for work, they just knock you off the list. I do believe that you go on to another list after 6 months, another list after 12 months, another list after 18 months, another list after 2 years.
Yeah.
I do believe that is the case. Just shuffling the figures around to make it look like... But this is proof that we have a situation that I spoke about earlier where technology is now knocking on the door to replace us. So whether we like it or not, that is the future that we're actually being asked to look at. Hey, just imagine if they said, look, stop having kids and we'll be alright.
They are doing, aren't they, though?
Well,
I mean, my kids have said to me, and I've said on
is
previous
working.
shows,
it is working. Yeah, this is why I brought this up. I mean, I always wander off, but I'm getting back to this. I'm going to do this story, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do this story. Britain's becoming singletons, partners and cohabitors. And you know the sad thing is, because we don't trust each other.
No, they won't.
We won't commit.
They didn't commit. No,
we won't commit. We've got boys.
My son thought he was committing and didn't. He ended up getting.
It's a familiar story,
and he's totally. I hope he won't mind me saying, if he does listen to this, I'm only saying the truth and how it is, and he's totally off girls altogether. I'm not saying he's going the other way, because he isn't, but he's not. He doesn't want a relationship with a girl.
Well, why are men losing interest in women? Because in the scheme of things, relationships with women are changing, aren't they? Now, a marriage used to be a partnership, didn't it? It used to be a joint venture. It used to be... I mean, we have positive and negative in nature. Everything that joins together has to have a positive and negative to create the circle, yeah?
Yeah.
And marriage isn't really that much different. I mean, if I try and explain what marriage is to me and why I don't choose to take part in it again, it's because you can't find what it is that you think marriage is. This is my personal description, but in today's modern world, the wife challenges the husband. She describes him as mostly unequal. She describes him as less than. The simplest one that I see day after day is that guys come into my shop with lists of things they need written by mum, and they call her mum as well. They don't often. It's not the wife. It's not the missus. It's mum wants this. To a point, that is happening too often. But the wife is sort of taking away the husband's position, because what do women want? Don't women want love? And don't guys want, in essence, to be king of the castle? But don't we all know that women
just love back, really?
But guys just want a thanks very much for being a guy and doing... You see what I mean? The old-fashioned way of... Guys just want a thanks very much and allow them to pretend to be king of the castle. As long as the girl gives him the illusion that he's king of the castle and he can make his own decision... You see what I mean? If she defers to him when he says, look, I don't really want to do that, and she says, all right, we won't then. But 9 times out of 10 she gets her own way, doesn't she? Yeah. Those are the relationships that I see working, where the guy has the illusion of being in charge of the house, but he isn't. She sees to it. She looks after the day-to-day things and sorts out, the majority of how the house is going to be run. But he has the illusion of being able to have the last say. That's that's what I say.
I know where you're going with it. Yeah.
It's a give and take type relationship.
It has got to be give and take.
Yeah, it does,
without a doubt.
But that's the illusion that's worked, and I see it working time and time again. But as the guys get older, they become more passive, don't they? Oh, right, anything for a quiet life. Oh, yeah. We're doing it ourselves, aren't we, to a point?
Yeah.
We actually walk away from people who are arguing and say, I can't be bothered. There was a time. There was a time when I'd have got stuck in there and made me point, but I can't be bloody bothered. So we're just as guilty.
Yeah.
Relationships have changed now. It's all equal, isn't it? We're now having, shared bathrooms and all sorts. And we shared loos and everything. It's all becoming that way around. You can see the way it wants to go. They want us to stop having kids.
Yeah.
And they're going to try every method that they can think of. And poverty is the easiest way.
Yeah.
Poverty is the easiest way. The people who can afford to have kids are people who are happy to live in poverty.
Yeah, and we said in a previous show that it used to be the other way. If you were in poverty, you had kids to help with your finances. I know it seemed silly, but they did jobs around the house as well, so that it released somebody else to go and do another job.
I know.
So, and that's...
But we do know, we we all really just want to be happy, don't we?
But
we can't describe what happiness is.
We've said we don't want for much, really, do we?
No.
We don't. You know, all right, yeah. I suppose everybody will say, yeah, I want the big house and the swimming pool and a nice car and all. But you don't really.
You don't
really want.
You know, I mean, I can remember in my younger life walking through car parks, right? When I was younger, I used to walk through car parks and I think, oh, I'm looking around, think, oh, which car would I have if I could? You know, which one would I have? And now I walk through car parks, and to a point, I could buy a new car if I wanted a new car. I don't need a new car.
Don't need a new one,
How
no.
things change, isn't it?
Yeah.
You lose the I need stuff because you realise that you don't bloody need stuff.
No.
What you need is, you need to have saved yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you need to have done.
And that's why the economy's done with you and I. Because we've got to that point now where we don't want an iPhone 5. We don't want the smart TV and the smart washing machine and smart this and smart other. And you realise you're not very smart when you've got those things anyway, because they're taking the place of your brain anyway, aren't they?
They've done with us, fella.
They've done with us. Yeah, we've said before, we are the dinosaurs.
Whether we choose to like it or not, we're done with.
But they're not done with taking our money.
You walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future. Not a future that will be, but one that might be. It has refinements, technological advances, and a more sophisticated approach to the destruction of human freedom. But like every one of the super-states that preceded it, it has one iron rule. Logic is an enemy and truth is a menace. This is Mr. Romney Wordsworth. He's a citizen of the state, but will soon have to be eliminated.
Wordsworth, Romney, field investigation finding obsolescence. Do you know why you're here, Mr. Wordsworth?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask you to speak up a little, if you will.
Yes, sir, I know why I'm here.
You've been under investigation, Mr. Wordsworth, for the mandatory period of 1 year and 11 months. You're found to be obsolete. The purpose of this hearing is to make a finding in the matter and make a sentence accordingly. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Your occupation, Mr. Wordsworth?
A librarian.
A what?
A librarian, sir.
I'm told you've had counsel and been given orientation, Mr. Wordsworth, but I'm still not sure in my own mind that you understand the purpose of this hearing. The field investigators in your sector have classified you as obsolete. This finding carries with it serious implications. Do you understand that, Mr. Wordsworth? Now, I ask you again, your occupation?
I am a librarian. That is my occupation. That is my profession. If you people choose to call that obsolete...
Request clarification of the term? Yes, the term, Mr. Wordsworth, you people. You make reference to the state?
I make reference to the state.
And you persist in declaring your occupation as being that of a librarian. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Interesting stuff, huh? Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Will it come to that? No, I don't think so. No. They always...
We're not far off. They're trying to close the libraries.
Yeah, but...
Because we don't use them. I must admit, we don't use them enough. We've got to admit these things. I don't go to mine.
No, I don't. But we could do things differently at this level. We could be different if we wanted to be. I've said before, why the students go pay to get an education and not do it yourself. And you say, but you don't have that bit of paper. I'd be more interested in a student that passed the exam without going to college than one that did. That would certainly show me something that the others hadn't shown me. They all turned up with the same bit of paper and the same story of how they got it.
Yeah.
This one turns up with the same bit of paper
grade.
but a different story of how they got it. Why don't we want to be better? Because that is what comes out at the end of this.
Yeah.
Why don't we want to be better? Why do we want somebody else to do it for us? This is the disadvantage we have of understanding because we're both self-employed. I've been self-employed since I was... Partly self-employed since I was 18, fully self-employed since I was... I can't remember.
Well, I've been
91,
self-employed
91, 22 years.
I've been 13 years now. I'm looking after myself.
But it makes us different.
Yeah.
It does make us different from other people because we do have to use our talents.
Yeah.
And if they're not in demand, we don't get fed.
Well, I am, as I've explained to people, I am the accountant, I am the sweeper-upper, I do make the tea, and I do the work, and I drive myself to work and all that, and I order the stuff, and I go and I do it all. So I do all those jobs.
Yeah, but this is an honest day's work, isn't it? I mean, people who sit in offices who are paid per work.
Yeah.
You know, because they're just shuffling bits of...
People annoy me when they say I've been in a meeting.
Well, exactly.
Well,
I mean, I used to work for the... I did a year at the Ministry of Defence, and it was sat in an office, and I was being overseen by an older lady who was getting ready for retirement. And this was the Ministry of Attack, in Harrogate, which is gone now. and the post came at, I don't know, 8:30, 9:30, whatever it was. And we all depended how much work we had for the day was how much post we got. Well, 10:30 I was done. There was nothing else more for me to do. I mean, I managed to find things to do and go back and sort out all queries and pass my time. But the truth is, I could have got away with 1 hour's work a day. It didn't. It doesn't. It teaches me what I didn't need to know. Well, I suspect in offices around the country, although that's not the case overall, I suspect that to a point, and my sister backs this up, she lives down south, and when she first moved down south, I remember her saying to me, they think they've done a day's work when they've done a couple of hours. They think it's time for a break. They think it's time to put your feet up. You know, they do a bit here, a bit there, and a bit here, and a bit there, and a bit of chat, and a bit of Facebook, and a bit of this, and they think they've done a day's work. And all in all, they've done less than half a day. But they think it's a day's work. I'm not knocking people who work in offices. I'm saying it's different. You and I physically have to have, we have to do a day's work, and we're watched to do it.
Yeah.
In other words, the customer watches us work and decides if we're worth it.
Yeah.
You on your talents and me on my product.
Yeah.
And they decide if it's worth coming back for.
Exactly.
You don't have that challenge when you're sat in, an office with a number of different people in.
No.
You just have to do your part on the conveyor belt of whatever it is you do at the end of the day. It makes you different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It gives you a false valuation of yourself. You think I'm earning X £1,000 and that's what I'm worth. When really, if you're dealing in a paperwork system right now, you best be nervous. Because this is going paperless. This society is going paperless. And once computers are doing it, what was it you thought you were going to do again? You can just polish the screens or what?
Yeah.
It's not going to need you. It's not going to need you. The bills are going online, the queries are going online. Everything that you want to do is going online. If you sit in an office on a telephone and play with a computer in a sales type environment, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. This is not going to need you in the long run. All these outsourced call centres to India and Pakistan and Indonesia and wherever else to send them. This is just trying to save money. And they're going to keep doing it. And the best way to save money is to give you no call centre at all. That's going to be it.
Yeah.
You'll have a live virtual assistant when you go on the website.
Yeah. And
that is what will sort your problems out. All you lot sat in offices, be careful.
I know, I experienced it with getting the house insurance. We it gave me one price online, and then I went back and got another price, and it was a different price. So I actually rang the company up and said, hang on a minute, can you do me the price on the computer? And she said, no, I can't. It's £10 more if you come through the call centre. I said, oh, well, I won't be doing that then. So it's just...
Well, you mentioned last week about the supermarkets.
Ridiculous.
The supermarket staff doing... Let's do some of these headlines. Go on, you pick them up.
Because
these are just
we're going to have to rattle through them, aren't we?
These are just the news stories that I actually picked up in about... Well, this is from January 2011 in my Facebook news feed. Right, this is a new one. GM food opponents are wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked. And leave small children... This is such a guilt play, this. And leave small children in poorest parts of the world to die.
Yeah.
Minister Owen Paterson claims the Environment Secretary backs golden rice fortified with vitamin A. Golden rice.
I know, and then you've got the other one that...
Opponents who sabotage crops, accused of risking lives in poor countries. It's disgusting that little children are allowed to go blind and die, he claims.
I know, and then this other article you got, BBC News, Genetically modified food has been banned from the restaurants and bars in the House of Commons.
They won't eat it.
Where's he from?
Exactly, they won't bloody eat it. Right? I mean, they put stuff in this GM pesticides that kills the pests that eat it.
Yeah.
And we're all right. So it's good for us, though. Good for us. I had a guy in the shop today. I was talking about GM food. He said he grows wheat and barley and oilseed rape. I said, how much of it is GM? He said, I'm not really sure. He said, but I look at America and they're all right, aren't they? I said, are you having a bloody laugh for what? And he went red and what? You know, I've got his lunch and went out.
Dear me.
GMO. Yeah, it's good enough for us.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
good enough for the third world. But no, they're
not good enough for them.
They're not going to eat it.
No, they're not going to eat it. No.
He said it was disgusting that small children in poor countries were left to die.
Yeah, it is disgusting because they're part of the problem.
Yeah,
you're part of the problem, fella, with your corporations and your lobbying and everything.
Just look at him.
They're helping Nigeria because they've got oil. So there's loads of investment in Nigeria.
UK to add fluoride to milk to improve children's dental health. We've heard this before. This is a circular news story that goes around every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Are we adding fluoride to milk to improve children's dental health?
Who knows?
Well, we don't know, first of all.
We don't.
Okay, but all the stories we're talking about today are on my Facebook page. And below the YouTube that you may be listening to now, if you're not listening live on the Tuesday evening that we've done this, my Facebook, your Facebook, and Andy's Facebook, they're all on my Facebook. Click on my Facebook, make friends with us, let us know that you're alive and kicking. If you want to pick up any of these stories, feel free to do so. I've been using Facebook for a long time as a news service for me, nothing else. You'll find hardly anything that I comment on, because that's not why I use Facebook. I'm not interested in to and froing with chattering and commenting. You leave a comment if you want to, and thank you for doing so. I'll very rarely reply. Don't be offended, I just don't feel the need to. If you want to share something with me, that's lovely. Doesn't matter. I'm okay. So, UK to add fluoride to milk to improve children's dental health. Ask your dentist about fluoride, they know, you know. They do know. Dentists know fluoride isn't what it says on the tin.
They do, yeah.
They do. And my dentists have... The dentist I had has moved now. I've got a new dentist now. He's a little bit... He's embarrassed to talk about it. And the hygienist, she knows. My hygienist says, no, I don't use it either. So they know. They know.
Well, I don't go to the dentist.
You will do eventually.
I will.
So I listen to Radio 4. You will eventually. If you don't, you will.
I've got a pair of pliers in his toolbox.
When we went to that sitting room comedy last night.
Oh, yeah.
Last Wednesday, sorry, we went to sitting room comedy. We saw
we
three comedians, didn't we?
Yeah.
Arthur Smith being top of the bill. Grumpy old man Arthur Smith. We went and watched these 3 comedians, and out of all the 3 comedians, you had the killer line. You had the best line of the night, the biggest laugh, and Arthur Smith was upset that you got it in, wasn't
upset,
he?
Yeah.
He was upset that you got it in.
You stole my line.
Because he actually spotted a guy in the crowd, didn't he? And this guy was quite unusually dressed, wasn't he? He had a frilly dress shirt on, a frilly type dinner jacket, so a white shirt.
But it wasn't tucked in, yeah.
It was hanging out. And he had jeans and shoes on.
Yeah.
So it was a strange combination. And Arthur Smith spotted him. He'd spotted him outside, actually.
They'd been having a chat
outside. He'd have a little chat outside, yeah, and he spotted him. And let me tell the story, and you finish off, right? You go, right? I'll try and do it like we did last Wednesday,
right.
And you fill the line in. And that was that, come on, stand up there. Come on, tell us about this shirt. And he said, that's my favourite shirt. I do like this shirt. And he said, so... Do you iron it? He said, yeah, I iron it. And he said, it takes me about an hour to iron it. And Arthur Smith said, about an hour to iron it? Why?
And I shouted out, it's too tight to turn the electric on.
Absolute killer line. It was brilliant.
A tight Yorkshireman.
What else you got? This is an old story.
Linking in with the food, on about making the kids healthy with putting fluoride in the milk.
Yep.
And then the orange drink with 300 times more pesticide than tap water.
300 times.
300 times more pesticide than tap water, yeah.
And we don't know how much is in the tap water.
That's to get Mail Online again. No, we don't know what's in the tap water. So, from if you think your kids are going to avoid fluoride from the milk, then don't let them drink pop.
But we're adding to what we've said that we're frightened of everything.
Yeah.
But we need to be aware of everything. Okay, we need to be aware that the food... I mean, we know fizzy drinks are bad for our kids.
Yeah.
It's called junk food.
It is.
It's called junk food. Learn, people. If you're giving your kids junk food, you're poisoning them. Right? You're actually poisoning them.
Yeah.
If your kids can't sleep, can't settle, if you're having to drug them to go to school, ask yourself... It used to be years ago about, it must have had some Smarties.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Must have had some coloured Smarties.
A blue Smartie.
And we laughed, didn't we?
Yeah.
We laughed as if it won't be the Smarties, but it's funny, isn't it? It was, wasn't it?
It was. They were colouring in
the
the
bloody
blue Smarties,
yeah. How many things have we laughed at over the years and been laughed at over the years?
Yeah.
Remember when we were too embarrassed to say that eventually they'll be spying through your electrical appliances.
I know.
Eventually they'll be able to decide which appliances you can use and when you can
use them. Yeah.
Eventually you'll be told when you can switch your washing machine on, and your washing machine will weigh the load and tell you if it's going to start because it needs to be full for your safety.
Yeah.
It won't get to that. How much closer do you want to get before you realise you're wrong? How much closer do you want to get to this before you realise that you are wrong?
Yeah.
Do some more headlines.
Red Cross to start first Britain food aid since World War II. Sticking on the food thing again. A picture of piles and piles of tin food, and one of those articles you read out, it said mothers shouldn't be eating tin food. Which one was it? Mail Online again. Chemicals and foods can double miscarriage, and one of those was tin food. Avoid canned food.
Yeah.
Stop eating food in plastic containers, and even avoid touching cash register receipts. And there we are,
I know.
giving it to the poor that can't afford in this wonderful world of economy that they're creating for us.
The reason why I'm racing through these news stories is to show you that you might not want to believe what we're telling you, and you might not believe the news stories that we're giving you, but you're going to have to look inside yourself, because we try and the whole reason that we do this is to teach ourselves. We listen back and decide if we like how we've done this. Have we presented it properly?
Yeah.
Have we got into the conspiracy theory realms of who did what? No. We show you what's in the newspapers. We tell you why we think it's there.
Yeah.
We don't tell you if it's true or if it's not true, because we don't know.
No.
But if they keep telling us the same things are bad for us and we keep eating them,
yeah,
who is it that's already sick and going to be getting sicker? GM foods are okay for us and the third world, but they're not okay for the elites.
No.
They're not okay for the higher-ups. GM foods kill the bugs that eat them, but apparently they're perfectly safe for us. They've been pushing the GM agenda for over 27 years.
They have, yeah. 1970s it started.
But it was actually 86 is the first trace I can find in Parliament where they're talking about that we'll do this.
Yeah.
We'll do this. The reason why we did the how much a restaurant meal cost 30 years ago and how much it costs today is because of the wonderful world of farm food. Okay? This is massively farmed foods.
Yep.
That you can still afford. It's not the food that's making you poor. It's not the fuel that's making you poor in the way that's petrol or diesel. It's our own ignorance that's making us poor.
It is. Yep.
We need to accept we wouldn't be here if we weren't doing something less important. We weren't paying attention.
No.
You've got to admit that. You've got to see the slave system that we live in. I don't say we can get out of it.
No.
But I would like to join with people who'd like to make it a bit better for a start.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we don't push back, then we're going to get trampled. And I don't think we've got that many years left to actually sit here and just whinge and moan.
No.
I want to meet like-minded people. I want to meet people who are strong and confident, who are not frightened to speak out.
Yeah.
I want to meet people who'll stand next to me, and I know that they won't run at the first sign of trouble.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. Until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life.
People ask me all the time, they say to me, what is the secret to success? The first rule is trust yourself. What I mean by that is so many young people are getting so much advice from their parents and from the teachers and from everyone. But what is most important is that you have to dig deep down and ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Not what, but who. And I'm talking about not what your parents and teachers want you to be, but you. I'm talking about figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy, no matter how crazy it may sound to the people. I spent a lot of time by myself so I could figure out and listen to what is inside my heart and inside my head. Something burned inside me. I wanted to be different. I was determined to be unique. I was driven to think big and to dream big. So rule number one is, of course, trust yourself no matter how and what anyone else thinks. And of course, rule number two is break the rules. We have so many rules in life about everything. I say break the rules, not the law, but break the rules. You have to think outside the box. That's what I believe. After all, what is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? Which of course brings me to rule number three. Don't be afraid to fail. Anything I've ever attempted, I was always willing to fail. You can't always win, but don't be afraid of making decisions. You can't be paralyzed by fear of failure, or you will never push yourself. You keep pushing because you believe in yourself and in your vision. And you know that it's the right thing to do, and success will come. So don't be afraid to fail. Which brings me to rule number four, which is don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, how many times have you heard that you can't do this, and you can't do that, and it has never been done before? Just imagine if Bill Gates had quit when people said it can't be done. I hear this all the time. As a matter of fact, I love it when someone says that no one has ever done this before, because then when I do it, that means that I'm the first one that has done it. So pay no attention to the people that say it can't be done. I always listen to myself and say, yes, you can. And that brings me to rule number 5, which is the most important rule of all. Work your butt off. You never want to fail because you didn't work hard enough. I never wanted to lose a competition or lose an election because I didn't work hard enough. I always believed leaving no stone unturned. And let me tell you, it is important to have fun in life, of course. But when you're out there partying, horsing around, someone out there at the same time is working hard. Someone is getting smarter and someone is winning. Just remember that. You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in the pocket. And that takes me to rule number 6, which is a very important rule. It's about giving back. Whatever path that you take in your lives, you must always find time to give something back. Something back to your community, give something back to your state or to your country. And let me tell you something, reaching out and helping people will bring you more satisfaction than anything else you've ever done.
I can hear you guys. I can hear you saying Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, he's one of the bad guys. If you say he is, he is. What was wrong with that advice? What was wrong with it? Huh?
Nothing. I couldn't.
No, it wasn't.
You know, saying get off your ass and do something.
Learn or lose. Learn or lose.
Yeah.
It's always been this way.
It has.
If you've got plenty of time on your hands and no money, come on. You can do better than that. I want you to do better than that. I want you to be successful so you can come and be a customer in my shop and celebrate with fish and chips. That's what I want. It's not a selfish thing. It's not for me. But you've got to want it.
Mm.
You can't want somebody else to give you it. It doesn't work like that. All the books, all the information, everything you possibly need. You can go to the job centres. You can ask for college courses. They'll help you. They'll give you travelling costs. If the course costs, and you appear to be suitable for it, they'll still enrol you on it.
Mm.
You think you know how the system works. You think you understand people more than most. Then go prove it. Go learn. Go learn something that people want from you.
Mm.
Whether it's psychology.
Because it is about trade. It always has been.
You've got to trade. You've got to trade something of value.
You have, yeah.
And it's not just information. Information has a very high value if it's useful to you.
Yeah. We have traded for...
We've traded forever.
Forever, yeah.
The English invented this modern trading system.
Whether it be glass beads for a skin or whatever, it didn't... You had to do something to get something else.
If you
change.
If you think the system's geared against you, if you think it's trying to stop you, you'll be right. You'll be absolutely spot on. But it doesn't have to look like that. The sun either comes up every morning, or you can't wipe the sleep out of your eyes. For another Tuesday.
Yeah.
All the contacts below, all the news stories on my Facebook. It has been Tuesday the 15th of October 2013, and this is the Unpenned Show with me, Paul.
Me, Andy.
Good night.
And good night from me.